This is June 15th at 9 o'clock. This is a city council, in city council chambers. This is a board meeting of the Lewes Board of Public Works. We have our board members here, our assistant, our general manager, our legal counsel, our assistant general manager, and Sharon Sexton, our, what should we call you?
Administrative assistant.
Administrative assistant. Thank you. So do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into open session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back in open session. We're on item 4, open forum, general discussion of a memorandum of understanding with the mayor and city council and proposed revision to the Lewes BPW charter to resolve the conflict between the city of Lewes and the Lewes BPW. Mike, do you want to take this?
Sure, no, I'd be happy to. Board President Lee, members of the board, before you for discussion and consideration this morning is a memorandum of understanding with the city of Lewes. This document was the product of many discussions aimed at improving the relationship between the BPW and the city of Lewes. The document before you for consideration is the document identified as draft version June 14, 2021 V.1, as it was sent to the BPW Council last night by the city solicitor. My understanding is that this is not intended to be a perfect document, but is instead intended to be a springboard for better collaboration, cooperation, and discussion between the city of Lewes and the BPW. Notably, this document by its terms terminates after a period of 2 years. That does not mean that the city and BPW will only collaborate, cooperate, and discuss issues affecting both entities for a period of 2 years. To the contrary, the termination will incentivize continued dialogue and cooperation going forward. There is also a companion agenda item this morning concerning the proposed amendments to the BPW charter. There are
Had a little technical glitch. Can you repost the link?
Yeah.
And there's a new link.
Yep.
So it doesn't like the stop and streaming and then starting, but we figured out a way that we think it'll work next time.
Sorry,
you're the guinea pig because you're the first one.
so we're operative now?
I hope so.
I'm doing it.
So whatever you said was not, it's recorded and streaming, it's just that the public didn't have access to it.
Should I make the motion again?
So
and
you
start
have a chance
all over
to
again?
change it.
I think we should. I mean, it's just for the sake of the record and consistency and providing the opportunity.
So, like when they watch it on YouTube, in syndication, or after the fact, it will have everything from when we came in here. It's just that if anybody wants to watch
Live stream.
Sure.
the link didn't work.
Okay.
What's that? Okay, so
We're good now?
We're good to go?
Okay.
Do I have a motion to go into open session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're back in open session. Item 4, open forum, general discussion of a memorandum of understanding with the mayor and city council and the proposed revision to the Lewes BPW charter to resolve the conflict between the city of Lewes and the BPW. Mike, would you take this?
Yes, thank you, Board President Lee, members of the board. A little bit like Groundhog Day here, but we will we will post and work through again. This is before you consider discussion and consideration is a memorandum of understanding with the city of Lewes. This document was the product of many discussions aimed at improving the relationship between the BPW and the city of Lewes. The document before you for consideration is the document identified as draft version June 14, 2021 V.1, as it was sent to the BPW Council last night by the city solicitor. My understanding is that this is not intended to be a perfect document, but is instead intended to be a springboard for better collaboration, cooperation, and discussion between the city of Lewes and the BPW. Notably, this document by its terms terminates after a period of 2 years. That does not mean that the city and the BPW will only collaborate, cooperate, and discuss issues affecting both entities for a period of 2 years. To the contrary, the termination will incentivize continued dialogue and cooperation going forward. There is also a companion agenda item this morning concerning proposed amendments to the BPW charter. There are 2 key amendments proposed. First, the BPW charter would be amended to require the mayor and city council's prior consent for the BPW to expand utility service to any territory outside of the city of Lewes municipal limits. And second, the BPW charter would also be amended to resolve uncertainty created by a recent Delaware Superior Court decision by expressly providing the Lewes BPW with the general power to sue and be sued, with the caveat that the Lewes BPW shall lack the ability to sue and shall lack the ability to be sued by the city of Lewes for a period of 5 years. The proposed amendments before the board today is the version of the draft charter amendment as was sent to BPW council last night by the city solicitor.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I need to discuss a point here.
Go ahead.
This provision of 2 years in Section 15 was actually supposed to be 5 years. And so it's not correct.
The version that we have,
Apparently it was not caught by Mr. Mandelis.
Can I look at it?
Absolutely.
The other thing was that it wouldn't necessarily just expire.
That it would be up for
That-
review.
That it would be, right, that it would be reviewed by both bodies together.
In 5 years.
In 5 years.
So
That
it
that was the discussion that we had, and somehow, well.
It didn't get
I guess
into this document, so I'm sorry for the confusion here, and you're welcome to discuss it further, and I'll be happy to leave the room, but that was not the provision that was agreed to by council last evening. So it was an error that was in the transmittal. Obviously, it was transmitted very late last night, and it was perhaps an oversight. I regret the confusion, but that is not what was agreed to by council.
What's the sense of the board? Do we want to go back into executive session, or do we feel free to open discussion?
I'm okay with as is.
Richard, you okay with this?
What are we okay with?
Whether to do it in open session or go back
Okay,
into
all
executive
right.
session. That's all I'm asking the board right
Okay,
now. Just
all right, fine,
just
thank you.
Tom, you okay?
Yeah, geez.
All right? Okay. Let's discuss it in open session then.
One more thing, there was the correction to the synopsis.
in the motion, yes, so, Mr. Pernetta, in the synopsis of the charter amendment, it still reflects 2 years. That would be changed to 5, so in the motion, we would capture that amendment.
Okay.
So,
Do we have to make a motion on this to change this, or can we just do it by consensus in accepting the resolution?
Yes, so what I would recommend is perhaps it makes sense to have some discussion right now, and then we can entertain a
Yes.
motion based on the discussion. And you do have the ability, if the board at any point in time would like to go into executive session, you have that option.
Is there any discussion on this?
Do we have the actual language as it's?
It's just changing the year.
well, the year, it's more than that,
There's
because
more
it was
than
not,
that.
it was not to, it was not to
Oh, that's
sunset,
right.
but it was to be reassessed, reevaluated at the end of term of 5 years. So it's, the term sunsetting should have been removed. Nothing's, to the contrary, the MOU and all obligations shall remain in effect and for a period of 5 years with renegotiation at the end of 5 years was basically the agreement that was arrived at by council last evening.
And Mayor, if I can ask it, so when, for the renegotiation, is there any provision in terms of, so it expires, and then, but you are built in to renegotiate, is that the intent?
I think the intention was to reevaluate it, to, not necessarily that it would expire, but that we would reconvene and assess where we were with these items at the end of 5 years.
So so council's intent would be that, so it would be the 5 years.
let me just also add one thing, that there was also interest that if there was an unintended consequence that came up in the course of the 5 years, that us sitting here now, we're not anticipating, that if both parties agree that we could renegotiate that specific item. So I guess, obviously it was a late night.
Yeah.
So
There were two.
I don't know if Glenn
That was an
has
additional
language for
comment.
that.
We thought that probably enabled any kind of discussion that needed to go on in the 5-year period. We just felt that 2 years was too short, and that 5 years gave us all an opportunity to build a much stronger relationship.
If I can, kind of one by one, I think as a bilateral contract, if both sides want to come together at any point in time
They can
and
do it.
negotiate, they can do it. So
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it
So
really
that
needs to
doesn't
be
need
in
to be
there.
specified?
Right.
Okay.
I think if both parties agree, it's only the two parties,
Okay.
so you can do
Yeah,
that.
I don't think that really needed to be in there.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it's
always the
but there
intent.
were some council people who wanted to be sure.
No, but it's a fair point, and I think it gets back to the point of I think both sides recognize it isn't a perfect document, so the
Right.
intention here is to have it as the
Exactly.
springboard,
Right.
and you do have that ability. Now, as far as section 15, I guess what is the pleasure of the board? And again, I'm happy to have discussions in executive session.
So what I think I'm hearing from what the city's requesting is that rather than the word terminate, it should be reviewed, renegotiated.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And the word sunsetting, I would change the word sunset to, yeah,
Reviewed, renegotiation, or?
yeah, ongoing.
Right, so the language that says that it shall have no force or effect retrospectively.
Comes out.
Respectively as of July, that would come out, so that just what you said, Tom.
So, did the city council feel strong? I mean, the next city council election would be in 4 years.
No, there'll be one next year, there'll be one, there's one every year,
Well,
potentially.
that's mayor next year, but the city
2
council.
years.
2 years.
Is in 2 years, correct?
How
I think
about,
that, I think the
This gets you
concern
through,
was
this
that
gets
2
you through a
years.
complete cycle of, actually, two through 1.5 complete cycles of reelection.
The concern was that 2 years goes fast, and if we're talking, if some of these things are capital items that you may not even touch in the next 2 years, right?
But the concern also was that you need time to build a relationship, and that 2 years was very short.
I guess the question is, why was 5 years chosen versus 4 years?
Actually, we talked about it, Carolyn and I spoke about it with press yesterday morning, and I think we agreed that 5 years was an acceptable number.
Well,
To us. You had to bring it to your board.
Yeah. I said
Okay, but we
that
did
was
talk
something
about
that I
this
think
yesterday
Should
morning.
have been considered by the board.
Yeah,
Right, but that was when we had the language of the sunsetting
Right.
clause, so.
yeah, and then we asked that the sunsetting clause be eliminated, and that a renegotiation be looked at. Jay?
Would the city council be willing to accept 2025?
Well, it just seemed to be consistent with the sue and be sued provision at 5 years. Why not make it all consistent at 5 years?
Well, but the MOU covers a lot more than the city.
I understand that, but I think 5 years is a reasonable number. As I said, it gets you through a complete re-election cycle and more.
if I may, I know it's this is our opportunity to work out the technological kinks.
yeah.
It would benefit, I would ask the opportunity to speak to the board briefly in executive session if we can do that.
You're trying my,
Skills. We're testing you.
Jerry.
Sorry about this confusion, folks, but
Aye.
Okay. Let's resume item 4 on the agenda. Mike, do you want to take it over? Tell us.
Sure.
What-
So following the discussion, the board did revise section 15 and would propose the revision. I will read it and then obviously open it up to discussion. The Section 15 would be revised to read, Section 15, renegotiate/new agreement. This MOU and all obligations hereunder shall be reviewed and renegotiated, and the parties shall agree on a new agreement to apply going forward prior to July 1, 2026. We can incorporate that into the motion if the board so choose today, and then that gets sent over. That becomes the direction going forward.
Okay.
You have a motion to accept that?
Make a motion to,
Well, so it would be incorporated in the whole
Yeah, I'm
motion.
just saying.
If you would like a motion, I can read that, but
Would it be cleaner if you just read the
sure.
the
Why
whole
don't,
thing over again?
if I'll read the motion and then open up to discussion.
Okay,
That-
go ahead.
That makes
Great,
sense.
that's
Yep. So the motion from the board would be a motion to authorize Board President Lee to execute the Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Lewes. Said document being draft version June 14, 2021, V.1, as it was sent to the BPW Council last night by the city solicitor, with the understanding that the general manager is directed to provide the mayor and city council with a list of the property to be listed within Section 10 to be jointly titled in the city and BPW, and with the understanding that Section 15 be revised per the city's request to provide as follows. Section 15, renegotiate/new agreement. This MOU and all obligations hereunder shall be reviewed and renegotiated, and the parties shall agree on a new agreement to apply going forward prior to July 1, 2026. And we need the motion.
So moved.
so- second,
Discussion? Tom, did you have something to say?
yeah, I think we just want to be clear that the revisions to Section 15, as requested by the city, the intent of that is to put a hard stop on the agreement, that it will be renegotiated and reviewed, and that be completed by 2026. And as Mike has stated earlier on, that doesn't mean that we're going to stop cooperating with the city, but that we do need to have an end date for this.
Yeah, no, exactly. What we're saying is that the agreement needs to be renegotiated, and if it's not renegotiated, then it terminates. In a sense, it terminates because nobody wants to negotiate anymore. So it's a bilateral agreement, and two parties can renegotiate anytime. So that's the intent of what we're saying.
Any further discussion?
Further discussion on the whole?
On the whole, yeah. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Give me that.
President, there's
Okay.
also a second motion.
Sure.
This would be a motion to approve the proposed amendments to the BPW charter as provided in the draft charter amendment, as that document was sent to the BPW Council last night by the city solicitor, with the caveat that the synopsis be amended to reflect that each incorporated entity is prohibited from suing the other entity for a period of 5 years to reflect Section 2 of the proposed amendment.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Well, I just want to say that, this can be the end of a long and sad portion of our mutual organizations, and hopefully this is the beginning of the end of
More than the
something.
beginning, but-
And that we can both work cooperatively and communicate thoroughly and be upfront with each other and make this a whole new start. So I'm really glad we're at this point.
Very happy that we're at this point. I think, I appreciate your efforts to work with us
And
and
yours,
come
Mayor.
up with, so
And yours.
I think that, we've come a long way from where we were not too long ago, and look forward to working with you. I think with these changes that you've approved, we'll take it before City Council for consideration on Friday morning. And I don't anticipate any problems with it, but yeah, I look forward to working together as we go forward.
Thank
I just
you,
want,
thank you and the council for everything you've done.
yeah, and I want to add that I think we really do want to thank Ernie Lopez
Yes.
for facilitating
Excellent.
the negotiations that have gone on, and even prior to that, to President Lee for leading the negotiations from BPW side, which have gone on for almost 3 years now, so.
And for Representative Smith, too.
I think you have to
And
include,
Representative
you need,
Smith.
actually, you need to include
Yes.
Representative Smith
Yes.
and Pete Schwarzkopf,
Exactly.
Leader Schwarzkopf. So I think, it was a helpful dialogue, and I think, as most things, when you get down to it, it comes down to two people or two organizations being willing to cooperate, and I think we're at that point, so.
I think we are, too. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
I'd also add that during the election, this was obviously the number one issue that we heard
Sure.
on both sides. So, elections matter, and obviously, we all listen to our constituents. I think there was a lot of collaboration and working together, and I look forward to having all the i's dotted and t's crossed and having this behind us and working together.
Anybody else? Richard, do you have any comment?
Yeah, I think it's a good document, and like most negotiations, everybody doesn't get, each party doesn't necessarily get 100% of what they want, but everybody gets something out of it, and it's a good document, we're good. So I'm all in favor of it.
All right, do I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was not. That was an ill-timed raising of hand.
You're even quite ready.
Uh-oh, did we mess up?
If I could.
Please, go ahead.
President Lee, just want to also mention, the board is scheduled to meet on Monday. The expectation would be that at that time, the board would consider a formal resolution that would formally present the charter amendment to Senator Lopez and Representative Schmick. So I will have that drafted and circulated for Monday, hopefully with the approval of the city as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll work on it.
All right. Item 5, open forum, general discussion of approach to fill pending vacancy in the general manager position. I contacted RKL about having a search for the replacement, and they referred me to an individual, Beth Rosenberger, who they work with periodically for searches. And I thought, and I had a follow-up, this was early on, and then I had a follow-up conversation with Beth Rosenberger about doing the work, and we talked in general terms of how she conducts her searches and how she charges and so forth. She said that she typically charges either by the hour, and she was $75 to $85 an hour. I think I can probably say that in public, or by percentage of the salary of the person selected, and so that's for consideration. So when I emailed back to her asking for the formal written, to my surprise, I got the proposal that I think I've circulated to everyone from RKL. I thought they were turning me over to Beth. And so we have this proposal in front of us, but unfortunately, they don't mention Beth, and the rate has doubled. The hourly rate has doubled. So I think I'm a little disappointed in that, and I think Beth seemed to be very heads up, and RKL has served us well in the past. They really have done a great job, so I'm in a bit of a quandary about whether to move forward with this.
So are you saying that it would not be with her, this would come
Well,
through RKL?
the proposal came through RKL.
That's what I mean, so we would be proposing, she would be the one doing it, but,
I don't know that, it
Oh.
doesn't say that.
okay. So we don't know who's doing it.
Well, it says, one of their staff members, or I think it's the owner, actually.
It sounds like they may have subcontracted her.
It sounds
and
like
now you're paying both sides.
Yeah.
You're paying a finder's
Yeah,
fee for that.
the markup was 100%, so I thought that was a bit,
It's not uncommon. I know what.
I wish I could have done that when I was in business. I couldn't mark it up 100%.
I have a question, Mike. Do we, I mean, sometimes there, it's required, somewhere it's required that you advertise, publicly advertise. Do we have anything in, I haven't seen it in bylaws or anything, but I'm just asking the question.
It depends on what the contract is. This is a contract for the services, the general manager, and there is not a similar requirement like with public works and projects that are publicly bid. This, there is no requirement that you publicly bid.
Okay. I don't mean bid, I mean, public, advertise in the public.
Yes.
But you're talking about, yeah.
Same concept.
I had the thought that, I'd go back to RKL and discuss it with them and point out what had happened and see if I could negotiate a much better agreement with them if the board's interested in moving forward with this.
Yeah, and then find out, I mean, and then maybe, we can maybe look around for another headhunter type. I
don't know that we have a lot of time for
No,
that.
we don't have too much time. So what's the board's,
well, we have to know what they're asking, so.
well, we know what they're asking right now. I'm just asking whether you're interested in me going back and trying to negotiate a better,
Did they give an estimated amount of time?
no.
Darren, this may seem like an odd question, but what would you recommend as a process, having been through it?
I'm not going to offer you my recommendation. My recommendation is we've been going through we have an assistant general manager for a purpose, and you have a great one. That would be my recommendation.
Well, we're certainly not saying anything about that because, we know we got a great guy there. It was just, it's whether we should be searching broader. But no, we know we've got a great guy working for us, but I think it's,
Well, I would agree to go back to RKL to one, who are they recommending, for one thing, for that kind of price, and why was it?
well, they give me people, their staff members' names. So I don't see that.
Is Rosenberg, the woman that you talked to, is she a staff member?
No, she's not. She's a separate.
She's a
and
consultant.
She's a consultant, and they're saying,
Contractor.
for her rate would be between $150 and $195. The principal's rate with RKL is $285, and one of her staff members is $275.
And are we thinking that maybe Ms. Rosenberger would be a good person?
Yes, I mean, from my
Heck.
three conversations I've had with her, she seems very competent and she felt confident, too, that she could find someone, but
My recommendation is we tell RKL that we thank you very much, but we're not interested, and go with Ms.
well,
Rosenberger.
since she's
I don't know that we have that
I don't think you
option.
have that option at all.
we can't go around them. Yeah.
I like the way you think, but
Why can't we, I mean, if she doesn't work for them,
Because they brought her into the thing, into the
No.
negotiations. She brought it to
Yeah,
they brought it to the party.
You can't cut,
You can't cut them out.
I didn't realize that. I thought,
And-
forget it, no.
going back to the larger issue, obviously, we have interviewed Austin, but from a prudency perspective as a board, we need to be able to validate. And that's all this is about. So making sure that we're making the right decision. Based upon that, I think we accept the RKL proposal, and if you can renegotiate a better rate, fine. If not, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not sure that it is materially significant.
How about local advertising? Should we do our own locally?
I don't know that local advertisement for a
Well,
general
I
manager.
mean, maybe we could send things into, APPA or
Oh.
AWWA, things, we could do some of our own. But I think there are people local that might be interested in it.
I was going to say exactly what you said. I mean, because with RKL, you're paying for a headhunter.
Right.
If you know you've got a viable candidate, you may not need the headhunter. You could do APWA, AWWA.
MRI.
A lot of utility.
I mean, I would say, put it out through DMAC. I mean, I think
Yeah, I agree.
that would cut your costs significantly. It just means that the board would need to have people set up to review the application.
Well, I'm sure that, yeah.
Well, also it would expedite it, because you're going to get immediate responses from people. You'll have to vet them, but, you know, a headhunter's going to take time to,
They were offering that service too, that they could even vet them, so the ones we got were,
well, they would vet them, and that would be part of their price, probably, but it's going to slow the process down.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be in support of advertising and going on different sites and posting the job in different areas.
I don't think you're going to advertise this in the Cape Gazette.
Who's going to do that? You want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, this is not something you're gonna hire locally, someone who's got 3 utility experience. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
niche market.
That's the thing, and I'm just being facetious,
Yeah.
but somebody's got to do it, and, you know, how do we
I
do it?
mean, yeah, I mean, that's what you're paying a headhunter for doing.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah.
You have a question?
I just have one quick, so with all this process going on with Darren Leeds, Austin will be, for the time being, the one we report to, right, as the general manager, is that how that works?
Well, we haven't voted on that, but that's a logical thing,
Okay.
so we haven't come to that point. So, yes, no, should I respond to them and see? I kind of agree with Tom. I mean, it might be good to get somebody like that, professional that's out there. I don't think we can do it and do it justice, because this is a big
Yeah, do you
decision.
know how many resumes we're gonna get and how difficult it's gonna be to go through them? I mean, nowadays, when you put a posting out there, you get everyone out of the woodwork. As I stood before, I think we go with RKL. If you can renegotiate a better rate, fine. If not, let's proceed.
But if we go with them, we can't, does that mean we can't also go to APPA or PWW?
Well-
I would go to at least both of them.
Oh, yeah, you can do that. Or-
When I talked to Beth, I mentioned those types of sources that she could be looking at too, you know, as the logical places, and she thought that was great news to have up front, so she was going to be doing that also.
And if we we get, you know, a number of really good prospects, we can tell RKL, thank you very much, we're finished.
Well-
Or can't we?
Well, you'd have to have something in the agreement that said that if we got a candidate
Yes.
separate from, if they got the candidate, then you have to pay them.
Right, I agree. But
Well,
I
you have
want
to
that
pay
in
them.
there.
We have to pay them anyway.
Well, we're paying them by the hour, we're not
And
paying them.
I think that's the best option.
Yeah.
I don't think-
Well, they're going to be entitled to a finder's fee, is what they're going to be entitled to, if they turn up the candidate.
Oh, yeah, but if they do it on an hourly basis, we just pay their hourly rate, and we're done with it. So,
I think in there, is there a fee by the hour or
they're saying,
is there an or in there about percentage of?
well, it says fees are as follows. It says $150 per hour, and then additional hourly rates for the other team members are, you know, $285, $275, $150. So, but they're saying the average is $150. Or the main searcher, I guess, is $150.
How much time are we going to give them? Because that obviously influences the hours.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah,
I think they're going to tell you how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you it's going to take them a month to find a list of candidates, and then you have to get through the interview process. Whatever they tell you, a month may be an inaccurate number, but.
Any other comments?
Well, in there, I agree that in there that we should have some kind of language that says, you know, if we find a candidate on our own, we can say, fine, we don't need you anymore.
Well, since it's hourly, it's,
Yeah, but you could terminate.
I mean, because other headhunters, it's 1 month or 2 months salary or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, but that's
Well-
not the way this one is structured.
She can do it either way, but I think the hourly's better.
Yeah.
I guess I need, do we need a motion to hire that
I don't know.
person?
We need a motion.
Can we just do it as a,
Yeah, so if you are actually hiring, then yes, you would need
Well,
to.
then I'll make a motion that we go with the RKL proposal with the options also of going out to other sources for candidates.
okay.
And if I just make a friendly amendment that, and if the president can negotiate, is authorized to negotiate a better rate, we tempt that.
Accepted, yes.
And also, to a friendly amendment, that in the event that the board chooses to proceed with a candidate of its own, that it may terminate at any time. Make that clear in the agreement.
Yeah, that's good.
It will quickly go online on these sites.
Absolutely.
And send you all the names of all the people.
Well, hopefully they'll screen them, so I hope we're not getting.
I'm just saying, they're gonna,
Yeah.
finding your own person, this is what they do.
Correct.
They will give you a
Maybe
long
we ought
list
to
of names.
go to,
Just to be clear, we want to get the motions. We've got the motion with the two amendments,
No second yet.
and we need a second.
I'll second.
You've made the motion, you can't.
No, he made the motion.
Okay.
Well, either one of you seconds, we'll see. Okay, all in favor?
You made the amendment.
Aye.
Opposed? We have nothing else on the agenda?
Yeah.
Mike, you have anything? Do you want to say? We're good? Darren? Good. All right. Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a quick minute.